Real Talks with Rechie, take 3. So, workout buddy. Thank you so much for joining, Jenna.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For sure. I mean, you and I, we started this whole journey around the same time, September 2021.
Time flies.
It does. But since then, we both have taken on a lot on top of like managing family life, kids.
Yes, there's a few of those around.
Yeah, so just, maybe just start off by sharing like how it's been for you, your experience as a parliamentarian with the kids, etc.
It's been amazing. As I'm sure you can relate, it's very busy with children at home. I have 3. I know you have 2. But at the same time, it's amazing to be able to get the work, to do the work that we do. And it's also amazing, I think, for our kids to see us doing this work and to learn more about the work that we do in our country. So secretly, I love that. I know they're learning as well.
Exactly. Sometimes my daughter comes out to events with me, and so we go out the whole day from morning till night. We bring all our change of outfits in the back of our car, and then like between different outfits you change.
Adorable.
But it's such a treat having them kind of like see what we do and learn kind of how it all works.
Agreed.
Now, speaking of kids, when I was in corporate banking, I had to put both my kids through daycare. And honestly, Jenna, what it felt like at the time, I can tell you, it felt like a whole other mortgage trying to put my kids through, into daycare. And it was such a big weight. But it was like, for me, I really didn't have a choice at the time.
Yep.
So I think about our $10 a day childcare and how, like, I was out in BC and some parents were telling me their payments are down to $300 a month.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, agreed. And similarly, I had 3 little ones, and our childcare costs were more than our mortgage at one point in time. It was pretty unbelievable. So you're right. The work that we're doing as a government to implement, affordable, inclusive, accessible childcare across this country is really phenomenal. And I have to tell you, I get to talk to parents on a regular basis about the impact, and I hear these stories. In BC, they're already largely at $10 a day. Here in Ontario, we're at 50% fee reduction. By 2026, across this country, all spots will be to $10 a day. And that's really transformational for families. Already we're about halfway through our agreements, and already we're seeing 750,000 families benefiting from this program. It's astronomical.
I agree. And, with the $10 a day childcare, we have more women now enter the workforce and open new businesses. Which is incredible, or at least giving women the choice to choose which path they can go in, and it actually opens up more opportunity for them to consider because it is more affordable.
100% agreed. Some people will look at this as social policy, and it is incredible social policy, but it is also really amazing economic policy. It is giving predominantly moms that option to go back to work, to return to the workforce. We're seeing record high levels of women's participation in the workforce. In times like this, where we see, we've gone through high inflationary times, we're seeing the cost of living escalate. And so the ability for moms to get back into the workforce, to contribute, it's really impactful, and it's been a game changer for a lot of families.
I share this with many roundtables that I have, but having more women enter the entrepreneurship field and run their own businesses, we can contribute more than $150 billion in our economy just by having women contribute alone.
Yeah, that in and of itself is amazing.
For sure. Now, I just came back from Northern Ontario, and in Northern Ontario, I got a chance to visit a local YMCA there, and we can see that, being in a rural area, the challenge is really, ensuring that we have enough ECE workers. And now with our recent announcements, I'd love it if you could share, some of the good news, because it'll help fill more spaces, take more parents off the wait list, and bring their kids into the program.
Yeah, agreed. So we did announce recently as one of our pre-budget announcements a few things. So first of all, a $1 billion investment in creating a loan fund, low-cost loans, accessible to non-for-profit public childcare providers. So what that means is the ability for these non-for-profit operators to grow. And that's a challenge in the non-for-profit space. It's a challenge to have access to capital. So this is one way that I know will translate to more opportunity, particularly in rural and remote communities. The other important factor, obviously, as we grow the number of spaces across the country, as you've rightly pointed, we need the educators. We need the ECEs who will work in these rural settings. And so we also put forward in Budget 2024 a loan forgiveness program for those early childhood educators who choose to then work in a rural community, to be able to have some loan forgiveness to make it even more viable. So, I think we have been very aggressive in the ways in which we are growing this early learning and childcare program across the country, albeit with our partners, the provinces and territories and Indigenous partners. But it's really amazing to see the impact for families.
So we're going to have $10 a day childcare across the country, more childcare spaces, and of course more ECE workers to be able to help take care of our kids. And to be honest, I've seen the difference from my kids who were able to go into daycare and have that strong educational background before even entering elementary school. I've seen the difference in my kids, and even just having the confidence as well. And I feel like the daycare, early childhood education is critically important for the future of our kids.
Absolutely. It's setting them up for success, as you've rightly said. That early learning is really important. The socialization as well. It's setting them up for longer term success in life. So these are smart investments, and ones I'm proud that we're making as a government.
Now, so when our kids are in school, what do we also care about as parents? It's making their lunches and making sure we're packing healthy food for our kids when they go to school. And so I'd love it if you can share the most amazing announcement we made with regards to our national food program.
So a lot of work has gone into this over a number of the last few years, but really, really excited that we shared as a pre-budget announcement that we're making a $1 billion investment to roll out a national school food program. And what this means, frankly, is that any child who goes to school hungry, which is hard to even conceive as a parent, right, as a mom. But there are children going to school hungry. They will have access to food at school. This $1 billion investment will feed up to 400,000 children, in addition to those that are already receiving food through other programs. We have some incredible organizations, the Healthy School Food Coalition, Breakfast Clubs of Canada, the list goes on, who do some amazing work on a shoestring. And this investment now will work. We'll work with our partners, of course, the provinces, the territories, and our Indigenous partners to roll it out. But it's going to be just one more way that we are supporting families in what we know are high-cost times, challenging times, but ensuring that kids are set up for success, right? How do you learn?
If you're hungry.
When you're hungry, right? So it's exciting.
And I know here in Mississauga, Streetsville, in my riding, I've heard from parents, again, you just mentioned it, the rising cost of food. So this will certainly go a long way. And we want to make sure when our kids go to school, if they're not, if they're not eating the right amount of food or at the right time or a healthy amount of food, then, how can they learn? How can they grow? And we need them to have their tummies filled so that their brains can continue to learn while they're at school.
It's so true. It's so true. it'll be, I think that the payoff, the dividends for this investment now, we will see for decades to come, right? Because the impact it has on children, on their ability to learn, not only learning, but also the social aspect, right? The kid who goes to school hungry and doesn't have food at lunch, he doesn't sit with the other kids during lunch, right? So there's something to be said about having that access in a classroom, at school. It's an equalizer.
For sure. On the flip side, what I learned during our announcement out in Hamilton was that there are volunteers who contribute so much of their time to help feed our kids.
Yeah.
And what this will do for our volunteers is actually teach them the critical skills and give them the experience to roll out these programs.
Sure, yeah.
So it's going to empower those who actually are serving our kids as well. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And, those volunteers who do this work day in and day out do it as a labor of love, right? Like they care so deeply. And so, I can certainly appreciate that as we move forward and as we're seeing more funding and food actually appear in classrooms, for the volunteers who have been there doing this day in and day out, I think it will be incredibly gratifying.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, we're both busy moms, juggling multiple responsibilities, our constituency life, our ministerial life. I know we're also both gym buddies, but
We are.
how do you keep it all balanced, Jenna?
That's the $1 million question, right? Well, as I think you know, I very much prioritize my early mornings. So I'm up every day at 5:30, and those first few hours of the day are my time, and there's nothing to compromise there. I do my workouts in the morning, start my day well, so that once business starts, once the first meeting starts, I've fed my soul already, right? I've done my exercise, I've had a healthy breakfast, and I'm ready to roll. It's the only way to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like that me time is so critical, and
It
I
is.
try to insert the me time in every little
It's hard to find.
It is, but when you find it, it's like golden.
Yes, yeah. And for me, the added bonus, Rechie, is as you know, I come down and I use the gym down here
Yes.
on Parliament Hill and have that time alone thinking, right? Like there's a lot to be said. Like sometimes you solve the world's problems during a run, right? Like, so it's time you have to carve out to ensure, I think, our own well-being as well.
100%.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed being able to be on this journey with you since September
Likewise.
2021.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.